Hello and welcome to the final Sky Sports Golf podcast of 2025, brought to you as always by our wonderful friends at Callaway. It is our traditional review of the year podcast, and what a year we have to look back on. I say we because I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only Rob Lee. Hello to you, Rob. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Can I just ask a question? You're surrounded by signed memorabilia there. I'm assuming that's not just the little corner, it's the entire way around the room.
This is the memorabilia room. Yes, this is where
Okay,
Mrs.
good.
Weir insists that all my memorabilia has to go because it's not allowed anywhere else in the rest of the house. So I have got it adorned with Ryder Cup flags and Masters gnomes and Open Championship flags and lots of nice signed pictures. But yeah, it's not allowed to be seen anywhere else in the Weir household, which is why it's all in this
Understood.
little cubby
Understood.
hole, man cave. Rob, what a year it's been. How are we going to top 2025?
Very difficult. Very difficult the way it started. The first major of the year, Rory doing everything that he wanted to do in his lifetime, which has become the sixth player to have a career Grand Slam, and wind all the way through a very busy season for lots of different players, and you end up with the crescendo in New York at the Ryder Cup. It really will be very difficult to beat. And of course, we're going to say, wait till 26. That's going to be unbelievable. But 25 has set a very high bar.
It really has indeed. It's going to be a great podcast today. We'll also be hearing from Billy Horschel, a man who has had a frustrating injury-disrupted 2025, but he's fit again and he's looking forward. And we'll be hearing from the man who had one of the most iconic moments of the year, holing that putt to retain the Ryder Cup, Shane Lowry. Before all that, though, we're going to get to our awards for 2025, Rob. We've got a number of categories to get through. Just like the Oscars, we'll be building up to the big awards, Shot of the Year, Player of the Year, etc. But we're going to kick off with, just to whet the appetite with some of the other awards, to start us off, Breakthrough Star of the Year. We've got three candidates in this category, and they are Ben Griffin, Marco Penge, Lottie Woad. Rob, let's start with Ben Griffin, who we have a separate category for comeback of the year. He could easily have been in that one. Just to remind people of the Ben Griffin timeline, turned pro in 2018, played in the PGA Tour Canada, Corn Ferry Tour, PGA Tour Latino America, stepped away from professional golf, worked as a loan officer for a mortgage group, returned to golf, earned a Corn Ferry card, then a PGA Tour card, and this year he's won the Zurich Classic, the Charles Schwab, the Worldwide Technology Championship, made the US Ryder Cup team, and finishes the year as the world number 8. A breakthrough star of 2025, Ben Griffin.
Yeah, a phenomenal year, really. I mean, he started with the big breakthrough was the win at Zurich, which is, it's a pairs event. And then you think, wow, it counts as a win on the PGA Tour, but you didn't really do it all on your own. And he could have finished the whole year with that one shared win. But he pressed on and turned into, I think, the most amazing player, because when he got into the Ryder Cup, he did not look out of place, and he collected all those other W's on the way. In terms of he's been that, look, he's to 2018. He's been here. Struggling is probably too strong a word, but he's been sort of bouncing around in the bowels of the PGA Tour, waiting for. Now, this sort of year may never happen in your life. You watch him play and you don't think, I saw him swing plenty. And I'm not thinking that's a guy that's going to have multiple wins and
No.
the successes of this year. Yet, once he got that first smell of getting over the line, he was phenomenal after that. And he looked good in the Ryder Cup too. I think they probably should have played him more. But
Yeah.
I think Ben Griffin has had the most phenomenal year and is definitely a worthy candidate of the big breakout trophy.
Absolutely. Marco Penge, like Ben Griffin, a 3-time winner this year at the Genesis Championship in Korea last October. He birdied his 36th hole to make the cut. In doing so, finished 110th in the race to Dubai, just to keep his DP World Tour card. Fast forward 12 months, a winner at the Hainan Classic, Danish Golf Championship, and the Open de España. Runner-up to Rory McIlroy in the race to Dubai, heading to the PGA Tour next year, playing in his first Masters in a few months' time. And that swing, Rob, I mean, the recoil on it, the swing speed, he gives it a right old wallop.
He does. And you could say the 13th man in the Ryder Cup side. You could argue that if someone else had dropped out, they were talking about Sepp Straka maybe going through stuff at home with his premature child born and worries about that. If Sepp couldn't have played Ryder Cup, you might have thought that Marco Penge might have got a pick. That's how well he played. from no baseline, scrape through, keep your card, and then finds himself on the golf course, finds himself and starts to believe in himself that he can play just like he looks he can play when you watch him hit it. Because he's played golf with Rory this year and does not look out of place, Marco Penge. And because he hits it so far and is very level-headed and even-keeled, I have got to think that the majority of PGA Tour fare, course-wise, are going to suit him like you can't believe. I think the PGA Tour is going to suit him like you cannot believe. Smash it miles, and he putts well as well, which is an absolutely key thing. If you can hit it well, miles, putt well, you've got every chance, especially when you've got 25, 27 under par scores winning some of these tournaments. I think Marco Penge is on his holidays now on the PGA Tour. I think he's going to have a ball.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Both Ben Griffin and Marco Penge, they've been around a while. They're both sort of towards their late 20s. Our third candidate here is, to use an American term, a phenom. Lottie Wood began the year as the world #1 amateur, won the Irish Open by 6 shots in July, still as an amateur. The following week, 1 shot back at a major championship at the Evian. Then she turned pro and won on her professional debut, victory at the Scottish Open by 3 shots against a stellar field. Finishes 2025 as the world #11. Lottie Wood is going to be a superstar, isn't she?
She, I think, is absolute. Everything is there for her. When I watched her win the Irish Open, I thought, well, amateurs have sort of got a free hit. It doesn't really count that much because they haven't signed on the dotted line and they're not playing for their living. It's a free go. But she won in very difficult conditions in Ireland, comfortably, but by a street from the rest of the field. And I think the chat at that time was that she wasn't going to turn pro. She was going to continue at college. And then she nearly wins a major the very next week. And then in 5 minutes' time, she wins her first professional tournament. It was an explosive start to her professional career as I can ever remember. And what I liked about her was the way she plays is kind of, okay, this is how I play. And I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. And she, as an amateur and a pro, she never changed anything. She never looked like she was backing up at all. Super impressed with her. It's difficult to judge, isn't it? When you're a seedling and you sprout suddenly like she has, or you've played for longer like Marco Penge has, and Ben Griffin. It's hard to say who would be the most deserving of that, but I think the two lads have been amazing, but they've tested the waters for some time. I think for her to do what she did, to win as an amateur, first of all, amazing. And then make the big decision to turn pro, nearly win a major in the process, and then win for the first time and beating good players. I'm tempted to give this to Lottie Wood.
I completely agree. We are in agreement. Isn't that a nice way to start the podcast? Our breakthrough star of the year is the sensational Lottie Wood.
Unfazed, unstoppable, unbelievable. A dream pro debut for Lottie Wood.
Her first paycheck as a professional golfer, and it's a big one. $300,000, Lottie Wood. This isn't just a win, it's a statement.
Right, next up, comeback of the year, Rob. A few different ways of interpreting this. So let's get into our nominees for comeback of the year. Alex Noren spent 8 months out injured, then came back to win twice at the British Masters and at the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth. Ends the year as the world #11, having been one of Luke Donald's vice captains in Bethpage. JJ Spawn won 3 years ago on the PGA Tour. Didn't do an awful lot after that, but he's come back in 2025 at the age of 35 to almost win the Players and the FedEx St. Jude, losing both in playoffs, but become a major champion at the US Open, where, by the way, he also had a mid-round comeback after starting that final round with 5 bogeys in 6 holes, was of course part of the US Ryder Cup side. He ends the year as world #6. Matt Fitzpatrick, for a mid-season comeback, fell to 85th in the world in May, not even in the Ryder Cup conversations really, going down rabbit holes to rediscover his form. Then, 8 top 10 finishes, including finishing 8th at the PGA Championship, 4th at the Open, one of the stars of the Ryder Cup, all culminated in a win in a playoff against Rory at the DP World Tour Championship, and Bob McIntyre, different type of comeback this one, coming back from the massive celebrations on Sunday night after Bethpage to hop on a flight from New York to Edinburgh the following day, and in the truly grimmest of weather, win on home soil at the Dunhill Links. So, Noren, Spawn, Fitz, Bob. Where do you want to go first, Rob?
Alex Noren's an interesting one because he missed his card on the PGA Tour. I'm pretty sure he didn't finish inside the top 100. And he's got his card back on the PGA Tour by the brilliance of what he did in the autumn on the DP World Tour. His comeback was, I didn't see it coming. It looked like I know he's had injury problems, and the way he practices and dig holes in the ground, that's going to be very wearing on your back and your wrists, and the way he does it, very steep angle of attack. But his renaissance in the fall, as they say in the States, was amazing. I thought it was amazing.
And you mentioned Marco Penge was sort of the 13th man on that Ryder Cup team. You could have easily made a case for Alex Noren being on that team as well. The team all met at Heathrow Airport on the evening of him winning in Wentworth, and he was sort of being greeted, hero's welcome into the team room.
Yeah,
he wouldn't have looked out of place in that Ryder Cup team.
No, well, he was playing in the States anyway, and he's got his card back. So even though he plundered the DP World Tour late on, he's probably going to play a lot in the States in 26, I would think, because he'd sort of set his heart on that, and he'll keep his DP World membership by playing the amount that he has to play. But I thought that was an amazing end to the season for him, who looked kind of a little bit lost to me. It looked like he'd lost his little bit of zip, and wow, didn't he find it? Didn't he find it in style? Yeah. Who can I pit against him? Matt Fitzpatrick's finding his game in the middle of the season to make that Ryder Cup side, with that was the sole target on his mind, was fantastic. I didn't feel for him like Robert McIntyre, like it was a comeback as much. It didn't feel like that to me. I mean, I think
we're having a bit of fun with that one.
Yeah, I think Robert McIntyre is still on that upward trajectory. Hell of a player, and is going to continue to improve and be even more adept on the golf course, traveling the world, playing great golf, and more Ryder Cups to come for him. So if it's not Fitzpatrick, and if it's not Alex Noren, who was the second one you mentioned?
JJ Spawn. A sort of, again, like Ben Griffin, he's been around for a while, but it's just, you would not have predicted what he's done this year to become a major champion, and also, by the way, almost win a couple of other huge events as well.
Yeah. He looks to, again, I think he was underused. They didn't play him in foursomes, I don't think, in the Ryder Cup.
And he was made
the
for
way
foursomes,
he plays, just a 1 yard fade and just find every fair. I'd put my hand up at JJ's form for a partner in foursomes in the Ryder Cup all day long.
Yeah,
I thought that was mismanaged from the Americans. He's a foursomes player to me, but like you say, semi-collapse in the final round in the US Open, and then to come roaring back in very difficult conditions, and it was truncated. They were on the course, they were off the course, they came back on the course. None of it was easy. A lot of water lying, and he makes.
Gone after it was gone after 6 holes.
Starting with holes, it's over.
Five bogeys and a par 5 in his first 6 holes. Forget about it. He's out of the conversation. Who's going to win this US Open? To come back from that mid round,
it's a dead duck playing in the final group. That's what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We're not. There's no point watching him anymore. And you tear up your betting slips. That's over. And to come back like he did and finish like he did was quite remarkable. I mean, again, you think comeback is when a guy couldn't play for 2 years, then he comes back rusty, and all of a sudden he gets back to where he was, and maybe even better. That's kind of comeback to me. But we're talking.
I think I've got a feeling, not to sway, but I've got a feeling JJ might be winning another award. So I think we're between Alex Noren and Matt Fitzpatrick. Do we go for the guy who came back from injury to win 2 huge events, or do we go for the guy who halfway through the year was just, his game was gone, and he turned things around so dramatically to become one of the stars of the year in the latter half of the season?
I never had a doubt that Matt Fitzpatrick was going to come back. I just thought at some point it's going to happen for him. The way he made it happen through the year, second half, to make a push for that Ryder Cup side was really, really impressive. Didn't feel like a comeback to me because I just wasn't worried about him. The one I was worried about a bit was Alex Noren. Alex Noren, he practices so hard, and he's so hard on his body when he plays and practices. And for me, I would give it to Alex Noren.
Yeah, one of the game's good guys as well. And as I said, to finish the year as world number 11, yeah, brilliant. Big 26 hopefully in store for Alex. Going to be playing in all the major championships. 2-time winner. Our comeback of the year award goes to Alex Noren.
A lovely birdie for at the first extra hole. Noren the champion, but Alex had to go the extra mile at the BMW. He's champion here at Wentworth for the second time.
Next up, this is Rob for our coldest moment of the year. This is the award for the coolest mic drop, shutting everyone up moment of the year. These all come from the Ryder Cup. Indeed, all from Saturday at the Ryder Cup as well. So the contenders for this one are Justin Rose for telling Bryson's caddy, Greg Bodine, to basically bugger off, then draining a birdie putt, staying very cool when it was all kicking off on the walk from the 15th green to the 16th tee.
Was that, before you carry on, was that the sort of no-look Justin Rose hold putt? Was that all part of that thing?
He did that earlier in the same round.
Right. Okay.
So yeah,
which was the most ridiculous big-time Justin Rose thing ever.
Yeah, it was. Proper,
because he's so measured. He's so polite and measured. I know he's a hell of a competitor.
Yeah, let's throw that in as well. Those two moments combined, Justin Rose is one of our candidates. Matt Fitzpatrick and Tyrrell Hatton going up the 18th on Saturday evening. Fitz hitting his approach from a fairway bunker to 3 feet. Tyrrell then nestling up to Fitz's ball with his approach as they won the last hole to make it 11.5, 3.5 overnight. That was a big moment in the overall Ryder Cup. The European fans at Bethpage, they got wind on Saturday evening after the close of play that Scotty Scheffler, having lost all 4 of his matches, had headed to the range. They went to the range too, stood directly behind Scotty on the range singing, "Have you ever seen Scotty win a point?" Was that the coldest moment? Or, and I think this might be our contender, Rory McIlroy for telling the US fans in the Saturday morning foursomes to shut the up before promptly stiffing it to 2 feet. Was that the coldest moment of 2025? Where are we going with this?
You know, that whole Ryder Cup, I was there for that Ryder Cup, and I must say, you know, New York got a well-deserved bad rap for the behavior, but it was in pockets, because I was out on the golf course and it wasn't everywhere. You know, and Rory, whatever group he's in, he's a magnet, because everyone knows if they say something off-putting or shout something, they know that TV's going to get it. Yeah, I mean, if we're going down the how much can you give back a crowd, because the whole thing had sort of descended into it had a bad feel and a bad taste about it. So the European guys were surviving, and I don't think as golf watchers we can possibly know what it must be like when you're straining every sinew you have to try and win a point for Europe, and at the same time you're getting barracked, shouting at the top of your backswing. At some point, your level of I'll ignore that. There is a limit, and at some point,
everyone has a breaking point.
Correct. At some point, the things you highlighted are it's not halfway down the first fairway. It's way out in the golf course, and as a human being, there's only so much abuse you can take. So I quite enjoy it. Bad language doesn't offend me on the golf course, because as a player, I understand frustration, and I understand my personal thing is I have to vent. I can't just bite my lip and go, hoo, 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 hoo. It's going to be okay. Calm down, Rob. I'll vent some expletives for 2 or 3 seconds, and then I've got rid of it, and then I can get back to the place that I need to be to hit good, or in my case, sometimes bad. A lot of the time, bad shots. So, I think it's Rory. Yeah. The European crowds are amazing. I had to say, in the banter stakes, they beat the Americans every single Ryder Cup. 10-0.
Is this a library? Is there a fire drill? I mean,
I know.
throughout, it was just great.
It just, yeah, I know.
But Justin Rose as well. We can't gloss over Justin, because those two moments in that Saturday, you're right. The epic walk-in from about 6 feet away, and then telling Jibo, as he's called, to just off, basically, and then draining the birdie putt. I mean, Justin Rose, what a guy.
What a future Ryder Cup captain he's going to be.
Yeah.
Because Luke Donald's not going to do it forever. And I think, Rose is a very similar stock to Luke Donald. And if you ever could have picked a more placid, calculating, calm, demeanored person to take on the Americans in New York, Luke Donald was the perfect guy. In the same breath, at some point down the road, for an away leg in a Ryder Cup, I'd say Justin Rose is like Luke's understudy.
Coldest moment of the year, then? Are we going to Rory? Because it's one thing telling fans to shut the up and then ballooning your approach. To tell him to shut up and then actually stiff it to 2 feet. That's pretty, like...
If you told people to effing shut up, or whatever the verbiage was, and then you hit a horror, they're all going to go, wow! I mean, can you imagine? They'd have absolutely pilloried him if he'd have hit a terrible shot. But then you give it back to him, and then you hit the shot. Then you start to feel pretty good about things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our coldest moment of the year has to go to Rory McIlroy on that Saturday morning at the Ryder Cup. Okay, next up is our interview moment of the year, the quote or the moment in a press conference or interview which sparked the most conversation or debate. I've got 5 nominees here, Rob. They are Tyrrell Hatton at the US Open. He was speaking to the reporters at the end of his round. He'd just seen a major slip through his fingers in heartbreaking fashion, and halfway through talking, JJ Spawn drains the putt to win the US Open. Tyrrell immediately breaks into a big smile and is visibly so happy for JJ. Here's a reminder of that moment.
I sat in dining. Oh, he's hold it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Unbelievable. What a putt to win. That's incredible.
What do you think he's feeling right now?
In shock, I would guess. Unbelievable. Fair play.
Scotty Scheffler for his existential, contemplative thoughts at the Open.
I'm not here to inspire somebody else to be the best player in the world, because what's the point? This is not a fulfilling life. It's fulfilling from the sense of accomplishment, but it's not fulfilling from a sense of like the deepest, places of your heart. There's a lot of people that make it to what they thought was going to fulfill them in life, and then you get there and all of a sudden you get to number 1 in the world, and then they're like, what's the point? And I really do believe that, because what is the point? You're like, why do I want to win this tournament so bad? That's something that I wrestle with on a daily basis. It's like showing up at the Masters every year. It's like, why do I want to win this golf tournament so badly? Why do I want to win the Open Championship so badly? I don't know, because if I win, it's going to be awesome for about 2 minutes. And then we're going to get to the next week, and it's going to be like, hey, you won 2 majors this year. How important is it for you to win the FedEx Cup playoffs? And it's just like, we're back here again,
Then we've got 2 from the Ryder Cup. Shane Lowry for this interview on the 18th green after holding the putt to retain the Ryder Cup, tears streaming down his face, saying this was the greatest moment of his career. A man who's won an Open Championship in Ireland.
I mean, I've been so lucky to experience amazing things in this game. That was the hardest couple of hours of my whole life, honestly. I just can't believe it. I can't believe that putt went in. I stood over it going, this is it. I said to Darren walking down 18, I said, I have a chance to do the coolest thing in my life here. And the Ryder Cup means everything to me, honestly. I won the Open in Ireland. It's amazing. It's a dream come true, but the Ryder Cup for me is everything. And to do that there today in the 18th green in front of everyone, it's like, it was so hard out there.
Luke Donald, basically every time he spoke at the Ryder Cup, but 2 moments in particular. This was at the opening ceremony.
We are fueled by something money cannot buy. Purpose, brotherhood, and a responsibility to honour those who came before us.
Then a moment in his victory press conference which highlighted the stark difference, I think, between himself and Keegan Bradley as captains. We'll come on to that in a bit. And the final nominee for interview moment of the year, my pick, I think, has to be Frankie Fleetwood at the Masters Par 3 competition for this unforgettable, wonderful moment.
Frankie, how much have you been practicing this next shot on the 9th tee?
Well, I've been doing my hardest to get it over the green. I've been practicing as hard as I can. Just not reaching it this year, but I'm just trying my hardest.
You got this, Frankie. You're going to hit this green. Shane, these kids, bigger stars than you guys.
Training already.
Rob, Frankie Fleetwood, we loved that, didn't we? That was just great.
Yeah, it was fun, but it's not getting a pick from me. It's not getting a pick from me. Yeah, kids aren't allowed.
Too schmaltzy.
Kids are not allowed.
Let's talk about Scotty then, because that did everybody spoke about that all week. Then in Portrush, what's the point? You work so hard to get to number one, and the joy is so fleeting, and then it's gone, and then you move on to the next thing. And sometimes I just question, like, what's the point in it all? And that was, I think, people saw a different side to Scotty Scheffler there. We didn't really know that Scotty was that sort of deep a thinker.
What I like about him is that he is all the sort of known norms of what psychotic professional behavior should be. He has compartmentalized everything. Okay, yeah, I'm going at it hard when I'm out the golf course, but that isn't my reason for existing. My reason for existing is my family and my immediate family. And that is the most important thing in my life. So yes, golf's important, and I tried damn hard to be the best player I can be, and I'm going to keep doing that. But I just need you all to know that that doesn't define me. What defines me is my humanity and my relationships with the people that I love. And I tell you what, fair play to him. And that's probably a reason why he can, because you have to separate. Some people can't do it. It's important to separate, to get away from what you consider the grind to be. You have to be able to, whether it's you go hunting, fishing, or you want to go skiing, or dangerous thing to do if you're a pro, or whatever your other interests are, you have to be able to get away from it. And it's not so much the physicality of practicing, it's the headspace. It's, can I get away from this all-consuming thing that professional players do? Golf is all-consuming. I can guarantee you, being Waitrose going down the pastoral, and you'll think, oh, I'll tell you what if I try that? And then you put your hands on the grip, and it's like, honestly, it's just there all the time. Even when you've been retired for years and years and years, you go, what if I'll just try that? I think that might work. It never leaves you. So Scotty's telling us that golf's important to him, but it's not the most important thing to him. And I think that is why he's going to continue playing and playing well.
I mean, it was extraordinarily open, frank, raw honesty, which you don't see very much from professional sportsmen at all. No. So I think that's up there. Tyrrell Hatton, it was just a lovely little moment. He's chatting to reporters, and it was heartbreaking, the moment. The fashion in which Tyrrell lost that US Open, he really, it was in the palm of his hand. Yeah. And Tyrrell, he has this reputation. He can be pretty cranky out in the golf course, but he has got a wickedly dry sense of humour. And just that little moment when he just sort of went, has he just hold that putt? And he big baby smile on his face.
That's that. Then.
What a way to do it. What a moment for him. And you saw how pleased he was for JJ.
Sure. Because in a heartbeat, it could have been Tyrrell, couldn't it?
Luke Donald at the Ryder Cup, obviously in that opening ceremony to say, we're playing for something that money can't buy. That was very calculated and delivered, and I know for a fact
that's a message. That is a message.
That got under the skin of the US side. They really did not like
because they made a catastrophic mistake. If they'd have said the 500 grand or whatever's being bequeathed to the 12 players, if they'd have said before we even got to Bethpage, it's all going to charity. It's over. Yeah. It's
diffused.
Over. Not this. Well, you get your 200 and your 300 or whatever, or some. No, every cent to every player, it's all going to charity. They could have turned that into a plus. They gave Luke Donald the biggest piñata to smash with the biggest club that he could find, and he did.
Yeah. He really did. Yeah. And that comment, I know for a fact, really rattled the US side, and rightly so. The other moment that I refer to in Luke Donald's post-Ryder Cup press conference, which I said highlighted the difference between him and Keegan, was obviously a huge thing was made about the whole envelope rule and Victor Hovland being injured. Keegan Bradley went into his press conference, threw the toys out of the pram. Well, it's not fair. That rule has to change, even though he'd signed the captain's agreement, which says that this is the rule. It's not fair. It has to change. didn't suggest an alternative rule, just spat the dummy. Luke Donald listed every occasion that's happened in the past, all the players involved in the past, and also said, but forget about all that. I want to turn this round to Victor because he's gutted. He wanted to go out there today. He was devastated. And I just thought, in a microcosm there, you saw the difference between a statesman-like captain and a captain who was just kind of making it up as he went along, basically.
Yeah. Look, we can look back at Luke Donald's 2 fantastic captaincies in the last 2 Ryder Cups. And can you find a moment or an action or a speech or a reaction where he slightly got it wrong? I can't.
No.
I can't. It's been the most commanding 2 captaincies for the Europeans. It would be impossible to better what Luke Donald has done over these 2 Ryder Cups. And I'm sure, I don't think he's showed us all his cards yet. He's kind of kept it open for when we go to Ireland. Don't know if I was Luke, win one at home, win one abroad at Bethpage in the cauldron and beat the Americans there, the perfect record, 2 out of 2. I'd be inclined to say, you know what, that's as good a Ryder Cup captaincy as you can have, and make room for the next guy. I'd be inclined, but listen, Luke might go for a 3rd one. He might do.
Well, I think he will personally.
Do you?
We'll come on to that. We'll come on to that a little bit later because I want to talk about that in a separate category.
You're
Shane Lowry, I
coming
mentioned
to my
as
pick
well.
now. You're coming to my pick.
No, wait. Shane Lowry, he's your man, is he?
Yeah.
To say with tears streaming down your face, this
Honestly.
is the greatest thing I've ever done. That shows you that man lives for the Ryder Cup, and you saw it there. Like, can you imagine a single US player saying that holding the putt to retain the Ryder Cup trumps winning a major championship? I can't. But Shane Lowry says it and means it, by the way.
When he said how important that moment was to him, more than any other moment on the golf course, crying his eyes out. And once again, Ireland had produced a seminal moment. Haven't Ireland been lucky with the moments they've had in the Ryder Cup?
Lucky. It's not luck, Rob. It's skill.
Well, I mean,
it's in our blood.
No, here we go. If Shane's out number 2, it doesn't happen to him.
No, that's true.
We've had Irish. It comes at the end. Eamon Darcy and Philip Walton and Paul McGinley,
Christy O'Connor, Paul McGinley,
Christy O'Connor, the 2-iron. That 400 of those were sold in Ireland. Those 2. This is the 2-iron. It's been for a small country, Ireland's had an extraordinarily big say in the Ryder Cup, and Shane Lowry's moment there, never to be forgotten. Not for him in his lifetime, and not for us who are massive Ryder Cup fans. It definitely goes to Shane for me.
Yeah, okay, I agree on that one. Shane Lowry it is. And holding the putt to retain the Ryder Cup, just the latest moment in a career which has included a number of iconic highlights for Shane. This next bit of the pod will be better for those watching on YouTube rather than listening, but I spoke to Shane about the numerous big highs he's had, which all began with that unforgettable Irish Open win as an amateur back in 2009. Shane, very few players do as many cool things in their career than you've done. So we're going to call this feature Cool Things That Shane Lowry Has Done.
Yeah, it's a long time ago now. I always said it would be the coolest thing I'd ever do, but I keep somehow managing to top it, so that was obviously something that got my career kick-started, and I'll remember the Irish Open and ball trail forever. When I'm older and sitting with my hopefully grandkids, kids and grandkids, and I'll be talking about days like that. Wentworth, it was like a tournament that I loved forever and played well there forever, but could never get over the line, and to win it the way I did, beating Rory and John. I don't seem to win very often, but when I do, it seems to be a big one. The Open in Portrush. I do think that no matter what I do for the rest of my career, like, I'll never win a tournament as big as that. I actually always said I wanted to be the first Irishman to wear the green jacket, but I can't do that now. So Rory's gone and spoiled that.
There's crowds on the final day. Yeah. You wear like the number of tricolours everywhere, and
yeah, I think I was aware of how big it was in some respect, but I don't really fully think. I don't think you can, to be honest. If you start to think how big this could be, you'd get it very hard to go out there and perform. I have a few special hole-in-ones. People always ask me that question: how many hole-in-ones have you got? And I've got 7, but I always talk about these 3. Like,
they've got to be 3 of the top 5 most iconic par 3s in world golf.
Yeah, like if you're starting to pick 12 maybe at Augusta, or postage stamp. Yeah, something like that. But
that's the top 5, isn't it?
I think that could be the top 5. I remember the one in 2016. It was on the Sunday. I think it was to get from 12 over to 10 over for the tournament or something. And I remember my mum. It's the only Masters my mum's ever been to, and she walked in after the 15th and she missed it. Sawgrass was very special. I remember that very well. Pebble was cool this year. Playing with my amateur partner, we had a good time.
And you always celebrate them. Like, some guys just give a little sort of raise of the hand, but Shane Lowry always goes absolutely bonkers.
I'm a very excitable sort of fella, so I get very excited with stuff. Pretty high off the ground there. I didn't think I'd get up there. I put a lot into the Ryder Cup the last couple of years. It all was for that moment, and that was, it was very, very special. That is something that I'll remember forever. The amount of people that talk about it and the amount of people that watch it. Yeah, it does, so it's very, very special.
And you said in your interview afterwards, while sort of fighting back the tears, this is the greatest thing I've ever done. And you've won an Open Championship in Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, I wake up thinking about it all the time. Honestly, I'm not messing. What is bigger and what's better, like that or the Open? And it's hard to separate them. It's hard to talk about them in the same sentence. I do think that's the coolest thing I've ever done. Like, you think back to Christy Jr., to Eamon Darcy, Philip Walton, Paul McGinley, GMAC, all the Irish players that have done it. Like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. That's some pretty bad Photoshop of my head on Phil Mickelson's body, by the way.
How did you know that? I photoshopped that myself.
I've thought about this. I've thought about this, but I'll work hard for the next 6 months. And
who better to receive the great jacket from than your best pal?
That would be cool. That's. I'm not getting any younger, but I think my game's as good as it has ever been. That would be unbelievable. There'll be some nice celebrations after that.
Welcome back to the Sky Sports Golf Podcast review of the year, brought to you by Callaway. Rob Lee still with me, and we're going to get back to our awards, Rob, and go to dominant performance of the year. A number of wins by huge margins this year. Thomas Dietrich winning by 7 in Phoenix for his first PGA Tour win. Cam Young winning the Wyndham by 6 for his first PGA Tour win. But this is the award for a real statement performance. We've narrowed it down to 3. 1, Europe at the Ryder Cup for their Friday and Saturday display. We'll get to Sunday too. Tommy Fleetwood at the Tour Championship. All the heartbreaking near misses to get the breakthrough win against that field. And Scottie Scheffler at the Open, his second major of the year, the third leg of the career slam. And from the moment he hit the front, really, at Portrush, he just never looked like giving up the lead, did he?
No, he didn't. And I walked around with Scottie a couple of rounds around Portrush. What a great golf course, by the way.
Yes.
The first time I've got to see Portrush was in this 2025 Open year. Had a round around there as well. Unbelievably, one of the great courses on the Open Rota. It is absolutely superb. I absolutely fell in love with it. And Scottie Scheffler's performance, it never looked like anybody else.
No.
But that's the way Scottie plays. He's a great closer now. And you think once he's got his nose in front, he's not going to beat himself. Tiger used to do that time and time again in the final round. He if you could come and beat him, but he would never beat himself, and Scottie doesn't beat himself. And I think everybody felt in the world of golf, once he got out in front, he was just going to be relentless. That's the word for Scottie Scheffler, relentless.
Yeah.
It was a superb performance. Another superb performance for Scottie Scheffler. Another major championship, another win in 2025. And
well, it's interesting, Rob, isn't it? We've got two guys at the top of the game who go about it so differently, don't we?
Yeah.
Because Scottie, as you said, as soon as Scottie hits the front, he's never going to beat himself. And then you've got Rory, who I think there's a lot more sort of love and affection for Rory because he is more human and he is more fallible.
He's
and
the magic
he
carpet
beats
ride.
himself.
He's the
he
magic
beats himself
carpet ride.
5 times in a row.
Rory's
and
that
then,
guy. Yeah. It's he's the Ronnie O'Sullivan. The brilliance that always carries a little bit of doubt with it, because Rory is capable of the most amazing brilliance that you've ever seen, and sometimes profligacy as well that goes along with that. And because Rory's got that Scottie's like a flat line at the very highest part of the graph. He's just a flat line. Rory peaks past that and then drops below it and peaks past it, and you ride that with Rory all the time. That's part of the.
He does it in the space of 20 minutes.
Honestly, that's part of the fascination of. That's why people around. That's why he's the biggest ticket in golf. That's why we love to watch him, because we're not quite. He's Seve, really. Think of Seve. That's how Seve played. Rory's more consistent tee to green than Seve was, but it's the same. It's the same bit of your heart that's along for the ride, because you're not quite sure, and he can finish eagle and does so sometimes when he has to, and do the most ridiculous things. That's why you ride on the Rory train.
I mentioned Tommy as well. To do it in the fashion he did against that field at the Tour Championship. I mean, if there was an award for sort of heartwarming moment of the year, Tommy winning at Atlanta was up there.
It was. Tommy Fleetwood has been a great player now for a long time, and what I've liked about Tommy is he's a lot of the time having to speak to the world's media, having been disappointed by just missing out again. All his interviews are, well, I've just missed out again. Well, I'll
but
just
he
keep
always
going.
fronts up.
Always fronts up, and not quite the same as Scotty, but he's got a very good grasp on life, Tommy Fleetwood. In other words, it's Kipling-esque. Triumph and disaster, treat those two imposters just the same. Tommy's kind of like that. And he said, well, I haven't won this time. It didn't quite work out for me, but, I know I'm playing well, and it's going to come at some point. Now, we went through a lot of that, thinking, oh, my God, is it going to be this time? And then he finally got it done in a biggie at the end of the season on the PGA Tour. And I think, again, once you cross that Rubicon, once you step through the door like he has done, that's not going to be the last one for him, because he's had countless close scrapes. One in Canada where Taylor makes an 85-footer against him in a playoff hole. So many times he's been close and probably should have won and didn't. And then we're all sort of thinking, then we interview him and he says, well, didn't quite happen, but I've got Claire and Frankie, and life is good.
I actually, for the first time, I remember when he spoke after losing the Players. So he bogeys the last hole, and Keegan Bradley birdies the last hole. Sorry, the Travelers, and and he said how all these near misses, they just, every time you lose, it just means that you learn from that defeat. And I thought that was always a bit of a sort of trite cliche, but for the first time, I sort of, the penny dropped with me, and I was like, no, but that actually does make a lot of sense, that he knows next time he's in that position what not to do. And all of those near misses, all of those heartbreaking defeats, they do make you stronger as a person and as a player, I'm sure. And then we saw it, when he finally got over that finishing line.
Yeah, and he gets over for him though at the end of the season, kind of. So had he done this in March, he may have added 2 or 3 in the same season on the PGA Tour. May have done that, but I'm sure we'll see. When we get to the Middle East, he's going to carry on.
Yeah, we're very excited to see what Tommy can do in 26.
Yeah.
The first nomination I had for Dominant Performance of the Year was Europe at the Ryder Cup for Saturday and Friday. Because, Rob, I've said to people since the Ryder Cup, I never had any doubt that Europe were going to win this Ryder Cup, because I've spent so much time with Luke Donald and with, in particular, Dodo Molinari in the last couple of years, and I knew just how meticulous the preparation was. Dotted every I, crossed every T. They had thought of every possible eventuality. And I actually texted Dodo at the end of Friday saying, wow, what a first day. And he just replied, tomorrow will be better. And then he walked past me on Saturday at the golf course.
I didn't know you could reply with an accent. How does that work?
He walked past me on Saturday afternoon at Bethpage, and he just went, I told you so. And there was no doubt at all in their head that they had the game plan in place, that all those players were so drilled. And if Luke Donald says jump, they say high. I had no doubt at all. When it comes to team golf, now individual golf with your own golf ball's a different matter, but when it comes to team golf, Europe are light years ahead of the US.
Well, for you to say I would not say I had no doubt, because I knew that New York was going to be, and once New York was named as a venue for years now, I was thinking this could be the end of the Ryder Cup, because it could be so bad because punters are getting braver and they're getting more outlandish, and they're not, a lot of the shouting was, so once the swing's gone by and you strike the ball and whatever you shout, pepperoni, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's after the hit. But stuff was happening there mid
On
backswing,
backswings, yeah.
and that's really hard to continue. So as two teams put together, I'd have backed the Europeans all day long. But as we know, in recent Ryder Cups, the away leg has been a very strong draw, and nowhere stronger than New York. If you're playing in the United States, that certainly gave me doubt that we could go there and win at what was going to be a very difficult venue. But I would agree that the dominance over the first 2 days, if you're a European Ryder Cup fan, it was just bliss. Watching the Europeans absolutely trounce the Americans for 2 days. Like they looked secondhand. They just looked like amateurs, boys in a men's game. That's how good the Europeans were. What did they get to? 11 and a half points before we went to singles?
11.5 to 3.5 after 2 days.
Right. 11 and a half points. Extraordinary. And it did look like, and we should never do this as golf fans, we should know that this is going to be the dullest singles Sunday that you've ever seen. But Ryder Cup, doesn't it just deliver every single time? You get a little bit of the opposite color coming on the board early on, and then all the blues that you had, but were only one up, can in half an hour turn red. And that's exactly what happened. And the scramble at the end, and for Shane Lowry to birdie the last like he did, right at the dying embers of singles Sunday, produced one of the great Ryder Cups, one of the truly great Ryder Cups.
And it was, I'm sure you agree, an honor to have been there for that. Okay, dominant performance of the year, Rob. Where are we going to give this to? I mean, my heart's leaning.
It's Ryder Cup team for me.
Is it? I thought you'd say Scotty at the Open.
I'm going Ryder Cup. I'm going Scotty at the Open. Has just done more Scotty stuff. It's just more Scotty stuff. That's what he's like. It's not. I've not looked at that and gone, oh my goodness. It's like, well, that's what Scotty does. You know.
Yeah.
Even if it's a bad one, he's got such a way of getting into the back of the ball out of really crappy lies. He can still find the target. He's amazing. He's an amazing player. But dominance, the dominance thing was displayed by those 12 men that represented Europe in New York under the most difficult backdrop that you could imagine.
You've won me round. You've won me round because I don't think anybody was particularly surprised by Scotty at Portrush. Whereas I think everybody after 2 days of Bethpage was going, whoa. I mean, I did not see this coming. This was complete and utter domination straight out of the gate. Everything they touched turned to gold. And for the next 8 years now, we've got in John and Tyrrell and in Rory and Tommy, we've got these unbeatable partnerships. I mean, the future is so bright for European Ryder Cup golf. So I'm in agreement with you, Rob Lee. Our dominant performance of the year is the European team on Friday and Saturday at the Ryder Cup. Right, next we're going to have our award for Celebration of the Year, Rob. We've got 3 here. 2 of which everyone will be aware of. We've already kind of spoken about one of them. One which not many people will be aware of because I got to witness it, not too many people other people did. So I'm going to tell you about that one. So our 3 nominations: Rory at the Masters, that visceral sinking to his knees, shoulders heaving, outpouring of emotion at Augusta. Shane at the Ryder Cup, dancing around the 18th green. And Jose Maria Olazabal at the Ryder Cup. So very few people saw this. The grandstands had kind of emptied. 11 of the 12 European players, most of the vice captains, were all heading back up the tunnel towards their press conference. Only Bob McIntyre was left and a few other stragglers. Bob actually sort of tapped me on the shoulder and said, Jamie, look at that. And Jose Maria Olazabal had walked into the middle of the 18th green at Bethpage and just sunk to his knees and was just quietly sobbing to himself.
Yeah.
And obviously having a moment to think about his great pal upstairs. And Bob just said, what a guy. I mean, and there's a guy, we talk about Shane Lowry, living and breathing for the Ryder Cup. Jose Maria Olazabal. What more can you say about the guy? I love him.
Well, remember when we were in Medina, the Miracle of Medina, and everyone had Seve on their sleeves, and when he broke down his hat, he said, "This one is for you." And he's, you know, the Seve factor in Chicago was, it was right there with the team throughout the whole of that, and that, honest to God, was a miracle that we came from 10-6 down on foreign soil to win that. 3 Europeans came to 17, 1 down to the American counterparts, and they all had to win the last 2 holes to win 1 up to win the miracle. I'll never ever forget that Sunday. in Medina. It was unbelievable. And there was the Paddy Power thing, the Sebi thing flying up in the sky, and Sebi was a big part of that. I mean, he would be proud watching how or the players or the DP World Tour that he was such a big part in making players believe. That's all Sebi. Sebi's done all that, and Ollie carries that very heavily and throughout
I think
his life.
Ollie's been a big part of the last two team rooms. I think any of the players will tell you that having him in that team room, like literally they hang on his every word. You can hear a pin drop in the team room when Ollie speaks.
Yes. So Ollie crying in a celebration scenario like that is, I'm probably glad I didn't see it because I've been crying myself. Amazing. But yeah, I'm glad you put it in there. But it's kind of the world didn't see it.
Exactly. So
it's hard to get that.
So which of the two Irish boys is it? Is it Rory at Augusta or Shane at Bethpage?
It's Rory at Augusta. It is Rory at Augusta because we talked about earlier on the show about the roller coaster ride that he dragged the whole world through by hitting possibly the worst shot in contention that I've ever seen, and then hitting the greatest shot half an hour later that I've ever seen, ever, anywhere, ever. He's already overcome mental damage at Augusta before. That's something he's carried on a golf course that the whole world has said it's a natural. Rory the draw. He's going to win Augusta. He had to wait a long time for his moment, and even he, I'm sure, would say he didn't know how it was going to turn out because he was flying by the seat of his pants, and that roller coaster ride that we all sat on board right at the front with no seatbelt, and when he got to the 18th green and birdied the player pole and got it in from 2.5, 3 feet to become the Masters champion, and I've never experienced that.
I don't know if it's possible to sort of physically see a weight lifted from somebody's shoulders, but I think you saw it in that reaction.
Yeah,
the sort of the heaving shoulders. That oh my gosh, finally it's all over. Like the overwhelming emotion was relief rather than joy. Like oh my god, I've done it
for the right reasons. Rory just broke down. He broke down with the realization that he'd accomplished a dream, and that's to win all 4 majors. And you don't know what majors you're going to win, Jamie. As great a player as Rory is.
I just think everything about it, the sort of the setting sun.
Arnold Palmer didn't do it. Sam Snead didn't do it.
Yeah,
they didn't do it.
Everything about it, Rob, the sort of, it was in the setting sun, and he turned around and his best pal, Harry Diamond, was there to give him a hug. And Justin Rose, the classiest of class acts, was there to give Rory a big hug, and Fooch as well. And he walks off the green, and Erica and Poppy there, and the sort of the way that sort of his walk to the recording hut was lined by just well-wishers, people cheering for Rory. Big bear hug with Shane and with Kate Rose as well. Everything about it was just perfect. The way that ended on Sunday at Augusta. So I agree with you.
It's one of those where people will say, "I was there."
Yeah. Yes, and I'm delighted to say I was there.
When I saw a guy in my lifetime complete the career Grand Slam. And by the way, just a footnote, so pleased for Harry Diamond. So pleased for him.
I know.
Because there's a guy that's taken flack from
oh my god.
Lots of cheap shots. He's just so many cheap shots. And
a big 2 fingers to everyone who said he's not good enough to be Rory's caddy. Your caddy is somebody who you feel comfortable in the company of, and that's what Rory does with Harry. So
that's right.
Yeah, it was a wonderful moment. And,
it was.
And I think that is fitting for our celebration of the year. Rory McIlroy at the Masters. Right, before we get to our final 3 awards, a quick catch up with one of our favourite podcast guests this year. If that was an award, then Billy Horschel would have a very good chance of winning it. Frustrating, injury-disrupted year for Billy, but he is back now. The TGL returned last night. We're recording this on the 29th of December. Billy's Atlanta Drive, the defending champions involved. So we chatted about that, about his year, about his moments of 2025, and stand by for some very candid thoughts on where the US are going wrong at the Ryder Cup. Billy, always great to have you on the podcast. First and foremost, the TGL is back, which as defending champion you must be very excited about.
Yeah, I am. Listen, I had a lot of fun last year, I think, as everyone could tell. Everyone's been asking me over the last couple months when it's been coming back, and been telling them December 28th is our first event, rematch against New York Golf Club. But I think it's what was really cool to see is obviously in season, we got asked a lot about, what it was like, hitting to the screen, putting, everything you could imagine. People want to know what it was like being part of TGL, from players to fans to people watching. But since that, over the last, 9 months now, 8, 9 months, still get asked, pretty much on a daily basis. If I meet someone out of the blue randomly, they ask me about TGL. So obviously it's after first season, it's got a great following. It's got a lot of support, and I think like a lot of players and a lot of fans, we're excited to get back in season 2.
It is also a time of year, of course, when we reflect on the year that's just gone. Obviously, a really disrupted year for you on the golf course. So, a word to sum up Billy Horschel's 2025?
That's, the word that comes to my mind, which people are going to say, why would he say that? It's just growth. It was a
Okay.
year of growth for me. Obviously, having to deal with an injury and be out from the game of golf for a period of time, something I haven't had to deal with pretty much at all in my career. A little stint when I had wrist surgery when I turned pro. But how to deal with that, how to, you know, be a dad full time, be a husband full time. Like, that was really cool. I enjoyed that a lot. Um, you know, Growth in the sense of, just physically getting stronger and better, and hopefully I've grown mentally as a player, and had this 6 months to sort of sit back and reflect on 16 years of playing professional golf and watch it on TV, and how do I want to, the last half of my career, how do I want to, go about approaching achieving success in the game of golf, but how do I want to be seen when I'm doing it as well? So a level of you know how I want to, hold myself, accountability, and present myself on the golf course, hopefully going forward.
It's wonderful to hear you talk about growth and how, you've grown mentally in this time. But, you're a football fan, so sometimes when players get injured, they don't come back the same player. Was there any part of you that thought, I'm never going to be the player I was, I'm going to lose a bit of power, I'm going to lose a bit of speed, whatever? Or are you just always positive mental attitude?
No, listen, I tell people, I said I'm a very optimistic person, but I'm also a realist. And yes, I still have those thoughts that I may not be the same player. Even sitting here right now, my driver club head speed is a little bit less than what it was before my injury. And I keep wondering, is it going to completely come back? I've seen there's been days where the speed's there, and there's been days where it's not there. But I think that's just the mind playing tricks on you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's always that little voice somewhere down there that's sort of, wanting you to see if you're going to sort of stick to the process, continue to be, work day in, day out. There's always that little voice sort of doubting yourself, and seeing if they can get you to sort of throw in the towel. And, I'm just not that person at all. And so I'm just going to continue to keep going forward. And I think I do believe I'll be a better player from this injury. I think physically I'll be a better player. I think mentally a better player. My main goal is these next 6 years till I turn 45. I want them to be the best 6 years of my entire career. And obviously, when you look at it historically as a golfer, majority of the time you're getting past your prime years. But I do believe that there's still a lot of room for me to reach my ceiling, and there's still a lot of room for me to be a more consistent player um, in my career. And I think that will happen over the next 6 years. I'm very positive and very optimistic that that's going to happen.
We've got you on our end of year review of the year podcast, Bill. So just putting on your hat as a golf fan, reflecting on this last year in golf in general. I think back, 2025 is going to be hard to top for me. I was there in Augusta in April to see Rory McIlroy complete the career Grand Slam. I was there in September to, apologies for bringing it up, but see Europe win, a famous Ryder Cup victory in that bear pit of Bethpage. So what, looking back, has been sort of the moment of the year for you, do you think, in 2025?
It's hard to get past Rory at Augusta.
Yeah.
Listen, when there's only been 5 guys to ever win the career Grand Slam, and you have the sixth guy do that, he's in rarefied air. And we always known that he was a special talent, and I always believed that he was going to finally get a Masters and complete the career Grand Slam. I know there was probably doubts as every year went by and it didn't happen. People doubted that it was ever going to happen, but I always felt there was going to be it was in the cards for Rory to be able to complete the career Grand Slam. And so that's my moment of the year. I mean, I just, the way he I remember watching. I mean, I played early that Sunday morning. I drove over with my caddy, or I drove over with Horschel, my stats guy. We met my caddy at I think Mellow Mushroom there in Hilton Head, and we sat at the bar for 5 hours, watching Augusta. And I think I was like every Rory golf fan, on the highs and lows. You think he's got it in the bag, and then he hits his wedge shot in the water in 13. You're like, what is going on? I mean, that was a really cool moment and special to see that. I think I just wish I was there in person to experience it, because as a professional golfer, you want to be able to, as a sport fan, you want to be there to experience special moments. And I've got access to some of this stuff, and it would just been cool to be there in person to witness that.
Standout shot of the year?
Man, that's tough. I don't know why because I just watched it and I thought it was an unbelievable golf shot. And I know many people didn't get to see it. Jaden Schaefer's shot from the fairway bunker in the playoff hole at the Alfred Dunhill Links on Sunday, that he hit from 240 yards, real close to the lip of the bunker, and he hit to 12 feet and made the putt. Like, that was a hell of a golf shot to win your first golf tournament too. That's the one that's coming to my mind right now. Obviously, I can't process quick enough to go through all the shots I can think of, but that's the one that pops in my head right now.
And we've got putt of the year as a category here. I'll give you some of the options for putt of the year.
Well, I'll give you that one. That's easy.
Well, it's got to be JJ Spawn, hasn't it?
Yeah, JJ Spawn. You said putt, and first thing that came to my head was JJ, U.S. Open. So, yeah, I mean, that putt was unbelievable. I mean, obviously having a 2-putt from 45 feet, difficult because he had to go up a tier, then plateau, and it runs away. I don't think people understood how difficult that putt was. And for him to make it, to secure a U.S. Open, that was pretty special. I mean, I remember, like I said, I watched a ton of golf. I always watch a ton of golf, but I watched even more so sitting on my butt on the couch watching. And so that was pretty cool, because obviously Bob McIntyre is right there in a position to go into a playoff if he 3-putts.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was a hell of a lot shorter, but Shane Lowry to retain the Ryder Cup is going to be up there for putt of the year as well.
That was my number 2. Shane Lowry obviously making that putt to retain the Ryder Cup for Europe, because it was the most recent in my memory. And then to think of JJ Spawn, obviously I think that takes number 1, and Shane's not far behind.
Yeah. I know, look, we haven't had a chance to chat about the Ryder Cup because I haven't seen you for a while, but I know that you're a dyed-in-the-wool, red, white, and blue, proud American, but we also sort of have adopted you as one of our own over on this side of the Atlantic. So what did you make of the whole 3 days at Bethpage?
Yeah, I think unfortunately it played out, how I had, I can't say forecasted in the sense of, or predicted, the New York fans were going to be the New York fans. I was hopefully they were going to be a little bit more respectful and curious. Obviously they can be great sport. They're great sport fans, but sometimes they cross the line, and I think they crossed the line. I was there Saturday morning watching out on the course, and towards that morning, in the morning session, it was starting to get a little rowdy, and then I went back into the city and watched the afternoon and saw what everyone else saw on TV and the way it was going. And then, from the U.S. side, I think it's tough because I haven't been part of a Ryder Cup team, so I don't know the inner workings of a Ryder Cup team. But I do think there's just some things that I've seen from the outside, being around the European Tour over there on DP World Tours, being around those guys, being around that team. I do believe that we as players in the PGA Tour, we need to take over running our team. I think the PGA America are great individuals and they do great work, but I think when it comes to our team, I think we need to have individuals there that we see on a regular basis out on PGA Tour events, where we have a close-knit relationship, where we can have conversations on a regular basis, and just not, sporadically throughout the year. We with the PGA America, whenever they decide to come out, It needs to be with the same people that we see on a daily basis. And I'm not saying that information is getting lost because I don't know, or we're missing things, but I think there's a sense of, togetherness, that everyone's in the same fight. Everyone's got their back. When you have these people that you see and you're having these conversations with, they're on your side. And not that the PGA America it isn't, but they're just, a feeling, knowing that you have a relationship with these people, a close-knit relationship, that they're pulling, you know, every which way for the team to be successful. And at the same time, I think we've gotten complacent a little bit at the Ryder Cup, in the sense that, um, we decide to have no rough. We try to get the greens fast. Like, listen, every one of those European players play in America. They play on fast greens. We're not gonna, surprise them with fast greens, but we have the same setup every time. And I think, we're just playing to the 2016 Hazeltine, our success there. I think the stats guys that we have used for Ryder Cups and President's Cups, I think it's time for them to see their way out. I think, not that they haven't been helpful, but I think, they haven't been as beneficial as they can be. I dealt with them in 22 at President's Cup, and not that I didn't think they were good, but I think there was information that was lost, and I thought that there were some stuff that I, you know, mentioned to them about, maybe to help them even do a better model and figure, be even more successful. I felt like they sort of turned their nose up to me a little bit. But I think it's time to find another group that will do a better job. Obviously, the European team has an unbelievable group, and obviously I have Eduardo Molinari, who's unbelievable in what he does. But like I said, I think we've gotten, complacent, just doing the same things over and having the same people over and over. And I think it's, I'm not saying captains or anything like that, but I'm saying maybe some backroom staff, that it's time for them to sort of see the way out and bring in a fresh new way of seeing things a little bit differently.
Well, Bill, if the New Yorkers cross the line, I can promise you the Irish crowds in 2 years' time will be absolutely fantastic. We would love to see you make a long-awaited debut appearance in the Ryder Cup in Ireland. And if you discover you're eligible for a Portuguese or an Italian passport in the next 2 years, then we'll happily have you in our team as well.
I want to wear the red, white, and blue so bad. I would love to do it in Ireland at a Dare Manor. And you're right. Like I said, New York fans are great fans, but we know they can cross the line a little bit. But one thing we know about the Irish fans, they love to have a good time, and they are some of the best fans in the world. They're so warm and welcoming to anyone who's ever come over there, just to experience playing golf in Ireland. They open their doors and their arms to anyone and everyone. And so I know they're going to be that way for us as Americans, but I'm not expecting them to be pulling for us in the Ryder Cup in 2027.
Well, look, first and foremost, Billy, here's to a happy and healthy 2026. Great to see you, bud.
You too, Jamie. Thanks, buddy.
Rob, before we hand out our final 3 awards, really interesting stuff from Billy there. Basically saying things have to change when it comes to the US approach to the Ryder Cup. The implication was that some of the backroom staff have been there too long. Things have gone stale. They've outstayed their welcome. And the kind of insurmountable issue I think they have, which Europe don't, is that there's no relationship whatsoever between the players and the PGA of America. It is the complete polar opposite with Europe. It is, it's a cliche, but it is like one big family on the European side of things, where there's a real kind of friction and distance between the players and the PGA of America.
I think what we're seeing is the importance of team, because it's team, and Europe gets team better than the Americans do. European players, when they play on the DP World Tour, they go out and eat together. That they've got their little coterie of people that they spend most of their social time with on tour. America, a lot of the pros are in their room at 8 o'clock at night, and they're like silos. So European players are used to fraternizing and creating this, and I'll say it, family feel. It is a family feel. It's like, it's a League of Nations #1. So you've got people coming from all different cultural backgrounds, and their one common thing is that they're all very good at golf. And the biggest common thing that they can possibly be a part of is the Ryder Cup. European players have a feeling that they're playing for their continent, themselves, and they're kind of giving back to the tour, because the Ryder Cup is a big part of the DP World Tour. So that feeling that you belong to something, that you're doing something good for something, you're giving back because that gave you the start in your professional golfing life, I think is very powerful. The Americans don't have that. The Americans they're representing America, but they're not representing what they are week in, week out in this world of golf. PGA Tour players, they're not, that bit of their puzzle is not there. So, that's something that I don't know how we remedy that, how we get around that, because it's the PGA of America that have the American half of what the Ryder Cup is. But I think there's going to have to be some movement towards the PGA Tour. I would think so. So we'll see how that plays out. But that is one reason why that sense of team is greater with the Europeans.
Interesting, and a lot of problems, I think, for the US to fix. And I think with Ireland 2 years out, Europe are in a very strong position. Okay, our final 3 awards. We always have Shot of the Year. I'm going to split it, Rob, this year into 2 categories: Putt of the Year, and then sort of full Shot of the Year, if you like. So we're going to start with Putt of the Year. 3 contenders here. Shane Lowry to retain the Ryder Cup. Okay, not the longest putt in the world, but the significance of it. Yeah. Rory McIlroy for eagle on the 72nd hole of the Irish Open before going on to win in the playoff. I've never heard noise like it. And I think this is probably going to be our winner, JJ Spawn at the US Open. 3 strong contenders. Where are we going first?
JJ Spawn, the putty hole, and while Tyrrell was being interviewed on that final green, was he'd already got a sighter. He'd watched the putt before and saw how it kind of went over the hump and broke down towards the hole. That helped him a little bit to make it. How long was it? 50 feet maybe across that green. I'd say it was 50 feet. Unbelievable. I mean, he's just trying to 2-putt. It's a lucky putt. It's a lucky putt. If you've got a 2-foot putt and you hold it, that's not lucky, because you're supposed to hold it from 2 feet. From 50 feet, if you hold it, if you make 1 in 50, that's probably what you're going to do. So to hold it on the 72nd green to win your first major championship, there's a lot of luck in that. Two putting would be skillful, and that's what he was trying to do. But for it to go in at that timing with what was on the line was absolutely amazing. But I'm not giving it to him.
Okay.
I'm not giving it to him.
Yeah.
For the reason that, you set a putt on its way with a brake on board and different change in brake and pace and everything else, and it goes in for you. That's just amazing. That's like, chipping in from 20 yards short of the green or something. You're hitting a good shot. But he wasn't trying to hold it. I promise you that. He's trying, please God, let me 2-putt. Please God, let me 2-putt. And he holds it. Now, when you come down to 8 feet for the Ryder Cup to retain, which is tour average, it's probably just 8 feet is probably, I'm saying it was 8 feet. Okay. When you look on television, it can be deceptive. I'll say 8 feet. 8 feet is just outside what tour average 50-50s. I think there's about 7 feet. The tour average, miss or make, is about 7 feet. So tour average wise, he's more likely to miss it than hold it. But you kind of expect him to hold it, and the fact that he did was for me that for me was Putt of the Year, because there was so much on it. They'd gone from 2 days of utter domination to the arse falling out of their singles challenge and looking like it was going to be an ignominious Sunday for the Europeans, who choked. That would have been the rhetoric. It would have been Europe,
the greatest choke in sporting history.
Europe
that
choked,
would have been,
and all those players would have had to wear that. And next time they go back to the States, by the way, choker. I mean, that's the next shout. They would have been chokers, and they would have got that forever. For Shane Lowry to turn that around in 15 minutes up that last hole, because, okay, if you retain on an away trip, that is amazing. We later know that Tyrrell Hatton took care of the rest and got the win. But for Shane Lowry to hold that putt and make a birdie up the last like he did, it's not just a guy with an 8-foot putt. There's 2 years of work gone into this moment. There's the fact that they were crushing the Americans over 2 days, and it was looking like the biggest comeback in Ryder Cup history for the Americans to win in New York. Can you imagine the noise in New York had the Americans done that? had the Americans taken
and
down
all
the
of your
Europeans.
teammates are standing just over your left shoulder, and your vice captains, and your
you imagine?
entire continent and tour is dependent on
just-
you holding that putt. And if you miss it, you're not going to win the Ryder Cup. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
You're not going to win it, I don't think.
No, you're not. Extraordinary moment. Timing, arena, noise, and heart that Shane Lowry has to hold that putt. And whatever he goes on to do in his career from this point forward, whether it's in, he likes Augusta, he's going to go to Augusta trying to win another major. But whatever he does going forward, he will carry that moment with him, knowing that when the chips were down and everything counted the most, he could stand up and be a man and take care of business, which he did. And I can't see past his putt. I can't.
Double scoop for Shane. One interview moment of the year, and he also gets putt of the year. Shane Lowry at the Ryder Cup. Okay, shot of the year, Rob. So many to choose from. Could have chosen about 20 alone just from the Ryder Cup and about another 20 from Rory's final round at the Masters. But I've got a few nominees for this one. JJ Spawn, we've discussed his putt on the 72nd hole of the US Open, but his tee shot at the drivable par 4 71st hole to set up an eagle putt was pretty special too. Ryan Fox, 3-wood in a playoff at the Canadian Open to about 4 feet to seal the win. Scotty Scheffler at the BMW Championship. Bob McIntyre was breathing down his neck. Scotty out of position over the back of the 17th green. Chips in for the unlikeliest of birdies. Grace Kim, crazy playoff at the Evian, hits her second into the water, looks like her race is run, then after a penalty drop, holes out for a birdie 4 before going on to win on the next playoff hole. Yeah. Shane Lowry for his approach to the 18th on Sunday at the Ryder Cup. Again, we've chatted about the putt, but to watch Russell Henley hit his approach so close and then to hit it inside that. And finally, Rory McIlroy at the Masters. I mean, take your pick. Through the trees at the 7th, putting it to 2 feet on the 17th when he needed birdie. The approach to the 18th in the playoff, but we've spoken about it already. The standout shot, surely, that hook around the trees at the 15th.
Yeah, because all those other ones that you mentioned are worthy of an award. The chip in at the Evian looked like it was done and dusted. That was an amazing moment. It was, but because of what Rory had done 20 minutes before at 13. And all of a sudden he's leaking oil, and he gets 14, what didn't do him any favors, and he gets to 15. It's in a good drive, but it's slightly left, so he's blocked out. And if ever a moment could capture what Rory is, the essence of Rory on the golf course, it's that shot that he took on the 7-iron sweeping hook from 50 yards right to left onto a green, as we know, from the middle of the fairway, hitting that 15th green is so difficult. Even if you've got, you're launching a 6-iron in there, you've got to carry the water at the front. You don't want to go big and over the back. You're heading down towards the water at the back. Then you got into the grain, chip to a green that tips away from you. All of it's horrible. To hit that shot that he hit at that time, and it's all in. Here's my chips.
That's it.
I've got all these chips, and I'm pushing them all in because it's here. This is my moment. And for him to stand up and hit a shot that very few people, if any, can do that. Get enough compression and turn on a 7-iron to get it to fly that far, hook that much, and stop when it hit the green. There's just very few people who can hit that shot. And then that's just standing on the range. Look, can you bend it as much as that, hit it as far as that, and get it to stop as quick as that? Can you do that on the range? Well, there'll be a few that can. But can you do it stood on the 15th in the final round of the Masters when what's on the line is you joining the very highest set of players that have ever played this game, the 5 that had the career Grand Slam? That's what was on the line for Rory McIlroy. And he hit the best shot I've ever seen. It was the best shot I've ever seen. It was.
And it was so sensational, the 15th, that we kind of forget about what then followed. Rory actually says his most satisfying shot of that final round was his tee shot at the 16th. He said he was worried about it all day because it wasn't the usual 16th pin position. It was up in that top tier, and it was just an awkward shot for him, and he put it to 9 feet there. Again, didn't hold the putt, as was the case at 15 as well. But he says that was his actually most satisfying shot of the day. And then on the 17th, because he still needs a birdie at this point, 196 yards out in the 17th and puts it to 2 feet. I mean, those three in a row. I've just got a stat here which I saw. What Rory did in 15, 16, and 17 in the final round is bonkers. It's a 1 in 28,700 chance that you're going to hit those three approaches on 3 consecutive holes as close as Rory did. And he does it on the Sunday of the Masters with the tournament and the career Grand Slam on the line.
Don't forget the 2 drives he hit up 18, by the way. The one in the 72nd hole, like a burster that went about 2 yards left to right, middle of the fairway, hit exactly the same drive in the playoff hole. And this time he doesn't shove it right into the bunker. He sticks it in 3 feet and holds it for the win. Those 2 tee shots he hit there were absolutely out of the top drawer. But if he doesn't do what he did at 15, if he dumps that in the water or makes a Horlicks of it, it's all over. The rest doesn't matter. You can throw the rest away. It doesn't matter. The only reason he could do what he did after that is because he hit a 1 in a million shot at that 15th with like I say, all his chips pushed into the middle of the table. I'm calling. What do you got? I'm calling.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I think it was going to be the winner all along. It is an iconic shot which we will watch for many years to come. The shot of 2025, Rory second at the 15th at the Masters.
Rory's trying it. Oh, absolutely incredible. Is this the magical moment to save him?
Which takes us to our final award, Rob. Quite simply, Player of the Year. 2 obvious standout contenders, I think, but I'm just going to mention 2 others to start with. One, Tommy Fleetwood, the year when he claimed his first PGA Tour title, cemented his place as a modern-day Ryder Cup great, and became the world number 3. And Justin Rose, aging like the proverbial fine wine, 45 years young, still contending in majors, winning on the PGA Tour, and just being an absolute alpha dog in the Ryder Cup. Any other year, those 2 would have a great shout, wouldn't they, Tommy and Justin?
Yeah, they just, Tommy and Justin are just unlucky that there are 2 players called Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. And if you're talking about Player of the Year, an amazing career breakthrough for Tommy Fleetwood. Justin Rose has been borderline magnificent with what he's doing in his mid-40s and shows no sign, by the way, of slowing down. And I'm sure won't countenance a captaincy maybe in Ireland because he wants to make that team.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
And I would not back against him making that team again, Justin Rose. You know, you think about his placid nature and his it's almost like he's got hidden grit.
Yeah.
But the grit comes to it's like a caldera volcano. The grit comes to the surface when he gets into that Ryder Cup environment, Justin Rose. And you see it. You see little moments when he makes a putt or have a bit of that, or you see that with him. He's got that.
Exactly. Right. So Tommy and Justin, both stellar 2025s, but not our Player of the Year.
Terrific.
The obvious 2 then, Scotty Scheffler or Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
And the cases for both are very strong, but which way are you leaning?
So, if Rory had won the US Open, it's Scotty Scheffler all day long. It's all day long. He is the Player of the Year. You have to give it to Scotty. The reason why I'm not giving it to Scotty is because we witnessed history. And the history was Rory McIlroy becoming the 6th player ever. So it's trying to think of them all now. It's Player, Nicklaus, Woods, Saracen, Hogan.
Correct.
That's the 5. And Rory McIlroy stitches himself, velcros himself to those 5 greats of the game. You cannot not recognize that. It's something very special for all of us that watched it. Something that Scotty might do it. He might be the 7th in 26. He can do it in 2026. Scotty Scheffler can do it.
He can do it on his 30th birthday. Indeed, in 2026. The final round of the US Open is Scotty Scheffler's 30th birthday.
I saw that the other day.
Poetic.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Scotty could be number 7 very shortly. I wouldn't back against him. But we have to recognize, especially with Rory's journey, with the time that has elapsed from his last major to this major, that hiatus, he even said it himself, almost started to think, well, maybe I'm just never going to win it, never going to do it. And it happened for him in the most dramatic fashion, and he becomes player number 6 to win the career Grand Slam.
Yeah,
That's why,
Rob,
for me,
I'm with you.
It's Rory.
Yeah, Scotty Scheffler is the best golfer on the planet. He had another sensational year to back up 2024, which was a sensational year. He is a 2-time major winner this year. Nobody is doubting that Scotty's the best player. He also laid an egg, though, at the Ryder Cup for the first 2 days. The fact that Rory won the Masters in the fashion in which he did, and even if that's all Rory had done in 2025, I think you can make the case for Rory being the player of the year. But you add all the little layers on top, the fact that he went to the Ryder Cup, got the worst of the abuse from that home crowd, and still came out with 3.5 points from 5 over the course of the 3 days.
He's not that far away from being the greatest Ryder Cup point scorer, He's not that far away.
The fact that just these little sprinkles he had on top as well, Rob, the fact that he won around an iconic course like Pebble Beach, the fact that he won his second Players, the fact that he won his home Open in the fashion that he won it, draining an eagle putt on the 72nd hole of the Irish Open to then go on and win in the playoff. I think all of that combines. Rory said it himself. He said at the start of the year, I've got a great chance in 2025 to complete 2 career goals. That is, complete the career Grand Slam and win an away Ryder Cup. And he did 2 of them in the same year, and won a home Open, and won at Pebble, and won the Players. He's got to be. This is the greatest year of his career, and he's got to be the player of 25.
Because he's accomplished. He's won Players before, he's won Irish Opens before, he's done all that stuff before. But the one thing that the elephant in the room for Rory McIlroy, I mean, it's a nice elephant to have. I need one more I'd love to be that guy. I need one more for a career Grand Slam. That means I've got at least 3 of them. Worst ways, I've got 3. And Rory, he does it in 5. His 5th major is the one that he needed. So he's now tied Seve.
Look, it's been incredible. Because of everything, we can't wait to see what he does in 26 as well, but because of everything he's done this year, the Sky Sports Golf podcast player of 2025 is Rory McIlroy.
He's finally done it. Masters champion. And after many tears, his talent fulfilled and now unbridled joy. Rory's Grand Slam is complete.
And Rob, I'm just going to mention a final word for Man of the Year, if you like, and that's Luke Donald, because I've said to people since the Ryder Cup, I've been a sports journalist for 20 years. I've never met a sportsman more impressive than Luke Donald, and I really mean that. And he surprised me. I think he surprised himself with just how much of a natural leader he is. We spoke about it earlier. Doesn't use 20 words where 10 are necessary. He's so statesmanlike, so impressive. Everything he says, I think, is so calculated and clever. And somebody said to me, I think it might have been Nick Doherty, said to me, he'll tear your heart out, Luke Donald, and he'll do it with a smile on his face. He is that sort of smiling assassin as well. Like, he is as gritty as they come, Luke Donald. And I have been so impressed in these last 3.5 years. And I've just got no more words to say. I just think he's an incredibly impressive guy.
Well, here's a few more words. When Luke first got the captaincy, to me, it felt safe. Feels like it's a safe choice. He's not going to let you down and make some sort of clumsy faux pas in the eyes of the world, and it's safe. And he has super impressed me. And as you say, I think he has definitely grown into the role. I mean, he started off as being, because Luke is never going to upset anybody, and he's never gonna drop an almighty clanger somewhere, because he's a little bit like Justin Rose. He's very precise in what he does. He's not flamboyant, right? So he's a thinker. Luke Donald is a thinker, and I think, with that first Ryder Cup, he got so much of that right. And again, off the back of other successful Ryder Cups, that the library he has to dip into is extraordinary now, in terms of how we set things up, how we make the players feel more wanted, and how we make their life during the week as good as it possibly can be, with all the duties that they have to perform. That is part of the backroom staff that the DP World Tour put in place for the captain and his choice of vice captains. He just hasn't put a foot wrong, and by the day has become more impressive and more impressive and more impressive. And he's had He's had a whirlwind 2 captaincies in which he has been the ultimate statesman, I would say, in everything. His demeanor, how controlled he is, how he never lost it when things were getting a bit frayed at the edges. You could look at Luke Donald and think, well, he's not worried about it. It's a wonderful thing to have.
It's perhaps the classic, swan gliding along serenely in the surface, and maybe underneath the water, the legs are going like that. But his demeanor is almost the most impressive thing about him. And I really do think he will stay on and go for the three-peat.
Well, good luck to him if he does. He certainly deserved the shout, because his performance over these 2 Ryder Cups have been borderline perfection. What he's done and what he's produced and the teams that he's put out there, and his decision making has been on point. So it's easy to say that when you win. It's easy to say that, but that dominance that we spoke about in this show over the first 2 days in New York, with all the barracking and the bad behavior from the fans, etc., from his European 12. Amazing.
Only one questionable decision Luke Donald's made in his entire life, and that's choosing to support Tottenham Hotspur. That's the one wrong step he's made throughout his entire life.
But it's easy. Apparently, Jamie, it's easily done.
But hey, we also won a trophy in 2025, so it's been a great year all in all, hasn't it? That concludes our awards and our review of the year pod. It has been extraordinary 2025. 26 is a lot to live up to, but I'm sure all of you, like me and Rob, can't wait to see what it has in store. Number one wish for 26, Rob Lee?
Wow, number one wish for 26. I want to see Scotty and Rory going at it toe-to-toe again in the big events another time round in the next 12 months. I want to see Tommy win early on the PGA Tour and really rubber stamp what he did at the Tour Championship. And I don't know. It's a non-Ryder Cup year. But when we get to sort of September, it's a year to go till Ireland. It's that it comes around really quickly, where you start to look at players' performances. We've got all that to come at the sort of back end of 2026. But I'm just looking forward to another amazing year in the world of golf. I'm wondering what the majors are going to bring us this year. Really wondering.
Well, speaking of the majors, my number one wish for 2026 would be the aforementioned Tommy Fleetwood winning the Claret Jug in Southport, a stone's throw from where he grew up. I think that would be very fitting. Tommy winning the Claret Jug at Royal Birkdale, I think, would be lovely.
He's such a good ball striker. Why can't that happen? Now he's got past the hurdle that was just annoying him every time he went out on the golf course and got in contention, particularly on the PGA Tour. Continued to win on the DP World Tour, but on the PGA Tour, he's now got rid of that monkey off his back. So who would back against Tommy Fleetwood winning a major? That's a good proposition. Who would back against him winning a major next year? Not many.
I'll mention one other wish for 26. As I said earlier, we're recording this on December the 29th, but there's a fair chance a lot of you will be listening to this on December the 30th, which means today, if you're listening to it on the 30th, is when Mr. Eldrick Woods turns 50. So happy birthday to Tiger. And we would love to see a fit and healthy Tiger in 2026. We know that he's never going to be the player he once was. We know that his chances of contending for major championships have been and gone. But just to see Tiger back out there in some capacity would be a great thing to see in 26.
I'll tell you what. If Tiger, listen, until he absolutely thinks there is no chance, he's going to keep trying to build fitness to get back to a place where he can play. Imagine if he turns up in the Champions Tour, what it's going to do for that. I mean, Tiger Woods playing with VJ and Ernie and all his old nemesis out there on the Champions Tour. And I'm pretty sure he can use a car. So, there's a way for him to compete out there. God, I mean, every Champions Tour player must be thinking, Tiger, come on. Come in, the water's lovely. Come in.
They're all thinking, cha-ching! If he does turn up in the Champions Tour.
Don't you think? If he can commit to, let's say, I don't know, 10, 12 events on the Champions Tour, just think what the TV ratings are going to be like on that tour.
Yeah, exactly.
Utterly amazing.
Fingers crossed of course, for a full recovery.
If he can play, he'll play a few normal events or a few majors. He'll do the same thing. But
exactly.
Tiger,
happy Big 5-0 from me, Rob, and everyone at the podcast. Tiger, happy birthday
TW,
to you.
absolutely. Tiger in from when he started in '97. From that point onwards, I rode the Tiger train all the way until he kind of got to a place where he couldn't play. But he was breathtaking. He made golf so exciting. He changed the game. Tiger changed the game, and everyone, even the youngsters that are starting and coming out as 20-year-olds on the DP World Tour, the PGA Tour, that they should all, if they ever see Tiger, they should just go and shake his hand and say thank you, because he changed the game for them. Absolutely, he did.
He was box office. 2025 has been box office. A huge thank you, Rob. It's been great fun. A huge thank you to everyone at Callaway who've now become more than just sponsors of our pod, but friends as well. It's been a great first year for the New Look pod. Long may our fantastic partnership continue. My final thank is to you, our viewers and listeners of the pod. I took over this role back in January. I couldn't have dreamed it would go from strength to strength as much as it has. Huge names on a weekly basis on the podcast. Top analysis and reaction. A lot of laughs along the way as well. So I hope you enjoy what we put together. That's basically me and my incredible producer Matt. We're just a little two-man team. We've been able to provide to you this year. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for your feedback, support and your kind words. We're going to take a little mini break, but we will be back to review the Dubai Desert Classic in the final week of January and look ahead to the big events starting back up again on the PGA Tour. So until then, from myself, from Rob Lee, he's giving you a little wave. Have a great new year, whatever you're getting up to, and we will see you again in 2026.